Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! As Finn's slumber deepened, his ringing phone persistently weaved its way into his dreams, manifesting as an ear-splitting chimera that pierced the quiet realm. A symphony of blankets and pillows tumbled to the ground as Finn awoke in a frenzied haste. The phone was an irritable gadfly, skittering across the table's edge with each insistent ring. "This infernal device," he muttered, his arm shooting out from under the sheets with the snap of a hawk's wing. Miraculously, he snagged it mid-vibration. "Yes?" A familiar voice, laden with urgency, pierced his still slumbering mind. He sat up, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Mom, what's wrong?" "It's Remy. She—" A sob broke through the line. "She fell down the stairs at work, broke her leg in 2 places. She's in surgery right now." Finley's stomach dropped. His twin sister. "Is she going to be okay?" "The doctors say yes, but Finn—" His mother paused, taking a shaky breath. "The wedding is in 3 days. Cassandra's wedding. Your cousin has been planning this for years, and Remy was supposed to be a bridesmaid, and now everything is ruined." Of course, that would be his mother's primary concern. Not that her daughter was in surgery, but that her niece's destination wedding might be inconvenienced. "I'm sure Cassandra will understand," Finley said, running a hand through his shaggy brown hair. "People break bones. It happens." "You don't understand! Your Aunt Patricia has been competing with me since we were children. This wedding is already going to be the event of the decade at that fancy resort in Maui. If Remy isn't there, there will only be 4 bridesmaids instead of 5. The photos will be asymmetrical. Patricia will never let me hear the end of it." Finley pinched the bridge of his nose. "Mom, I'm sorry, but what do you expect me to do about it? I can't magically heal Remy's leg." The line went quiet. Too quiet. A chill ran down Finley's spine. "Actually," his mother said slowly, "there is something you could do." "No! You haven't even heard what I was going to say!" "I don't need to hear it. Whatever scheme you're cooking up, the answer is no." His mother sighed. "Finley, darling, you and Remy are identical in almost every way except the obvious. You're the same height, same build, same face. You even have the same voice, just in different registers." Finley's mouth went dry. "Mom, you cannot be serious." "It's just for 3 days. No one in the extended family has seen either of you in years. Cassandra hasn't seen you since you were teenagers, with the right clothes, some makeup, and— Absolutely not!" Finley jumped to his feet, pacing his small apartment. "You want me to pretend to be Remy? At a wedding? Are you insane?" "It's a destination wedding, honey. Everyone's flying to Maui tomorrow. All you have to do is walk down an aisle, stand there looking pretty, and dance at the reception. Remy already has everything packed. The dress, the shoes, everything." "The dress," Finley repeated flatly. "You want me to wear a dress and heels in front of our entire extended family. Finley Marcus Bennett, this is important to our family, to Cassandra. Would you really let your cousin's perfect day be ruined when you could help?" He ran a hand over his face. "This is emotional blackmail." "Is it working?" Finley groaned. He knew his mother wouldn't let this go. And despite his protests, a tiny part of him, a part he'd been suppressing for years, felt a strange flutter at the idea. "I'll think about it," he muttered. "That's my boy! I'll be at your apartment in an hour with Remy's things." I didn't say... But the line had already gone dead. An hour later, his mother swept into his apartment like a hurricane, arms laden with garment bags and suitcases. I got everything from Remy's apartment, she announced, dropping the bags onto his couch, including her makeup and hair products. She eyed his shaggy, shoulder-length brown hair critically.
We'll need to get you extensions. Your hair is the right color, but too short for the updo the bridesmaids are wearing.
Finley stood frozen as his mother unzipped the largest garment bag with a flourish. Inside was a blush-pink chiffon gown with delicate beading across the bodice. The fabric seemed to shimmer under the apartment lights.
You cannot be serious,
Finley whispered. Try it on. Mom! Finley, please. His mother's expression softened.
I wouldn't ask this if it wasn't important. Remy is devastated she can't be there. She was looking forward to being part of the wedding party.
Guilt twisted in Finley's stomach. He and his sister had always been close, watching out for each other. What would Remy want him to do?
Fine,
he sighed, grabbing the dress.
But I'm not promising anything.
In his bedroom, Finley struggled with the complex arrangement of zippers and hooks. When he finally managed to get the dress on properly, he stood before the mirror, stunned into silence. The blush color complemented his fair skin. The cut of the bodice created the illusion of curves he didn't possess. The chiffon flowed around his legs, soft and feminine. Something inside him shifted, like puzzle pieces falling into place. Finley, how does it fit? His mother's voice came from outside the door. He opened it wordlessly. His mother gasped, hands flying to her mouth. Oh, Finn, she breathed. You look beautiful. For once, Finley didn't correct her choice of adjective.
The dress fits,
he said, his voice strangely tight.
But there's no way I can pull this off. People will know immediately.
His mother circled him, adjusting the fabric.
With the right makeup, hair, and a few other enhancements, no one will suspect a thing. We'll have to work on your voice and mannerisms, but we can do that on the flight tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Finley echoed. I haven't even agreed to go. His mother stopped her adjustments, meeting his gaze in the mirror. Haven't you, though? Looking at his reflection, at the person looking back at him draped in chiffon and beading, Finley wasn't sure who he was seeing anymore. But whoever it was, they didn't seem unhappy.
I'll need to call work,
he said quietly.
Tell them there's a family emergency.
His mother beamed, clapping her hands together. Wonderful! Now, let's see about those shoes. The next 12 hours passed in a blur of preparations. His mother took him to a salon where a stylist added auburn hair extensions that blended seamlessly with his natural color, transforming his shaggy cut into flowing locks that cascaded down his back. The stylist showed him how to maintain them, then styled his new hair into a loose braid for traveling. Next came the crash course in makeup application, with his mother and a sympathetic makeup artist guiding him through foundation, contouring, mascara, and lipstick. His mother purchased silicone breast forms and a special adhesive bra to create a convincing feminine figure beneath the bridesmaid dress. By the time they arrived at the airport the next morning, Finley was dressed in a floral sundress from Remy's suitcase, low wedge sandals, and light makeup. His newly lengthened hair was pulled back in a ponytail. His mother had even convinced him to get a manicure, his nails now a pale pink that matched his dress. Remember, his mother whispered as they walked toward security.
You're Remy now. Head up. Smaller steps, softer voice.
Finley nodded, heart pounding as he handed his boarding pass and ID to the security agent. His mother had assured him that the gender marker on his ID wouldn't be an issue. People often didn't look like their photos, after all. But he still held his breath. The agent glanced at the ID, then at Finley, then back at the ID. "Have a nice flight, Miss Bennett," he said, waving him through. Something warm bloomed in Finley's chest at the words, Miss Bennett. On the plane, Finley's mother continued his crash course in being Remy. "She laughs more openly than you do," she instructed. "And she touches people's arms when she talks to them. Also, you'll need to cross your legs at the knee, not the ankle." Finley absorbed every piece of information, practicing his sister's mannerisms and higher-pitched voice. By the time they landed in Maui, exhausted but excited, he was no longer consciously thinking about how to move or speak. It was becoming natural, like slipping into a role he'd been born to play. A shuttle took them from the airport to the luxury oceanfront resort where the wedding would take place. Palm trees swayed in the gentle breeze, and the air smelled of plumeria and salt water. Under different circumstances, Finley might have been excited for the tropical vacation. "There they are!" his mother exclaimed as they entered the resort lobby. "Patricia! Cassandra!" A tall, elegant woman who was clearly his mother's sister approached with a younger woman who had to be Cassandra. Both were impeccably dressed, their makeup flawless despite the humidity. "Margaret, you made it!" Patricia embraced Finley's mother, then turned to Finley with arms outstretched. "And Remy, look at you, all grown up. You were just a teenager last time I saw you." Finley accepted the hug, careful to use the softer voice he'd been practicing. "It's good to see you, Aunt Patricia. Thanks for having me in the wedding party." "Of course, sweetheart. We're practically sisters ourselves." Patricia stepped back, examining him. "You look just like your mother did at your age. Those Bennett genes are strong." Cassandra hugged him next. "Thanks for being part of my special day, Remy. The other bridesmaids are by the pool. We're doing a welcome dinner in an hour, so you have time to freshen up and meet everyone." After checking into their rooms, his mother had arranged for them to have separate accommodations. Thank goodness. Finley stood in front of the bathroom mirror, studying his reflection. With the auburn hair extensions framing his face, the light makeup enhancing his features, and the sundress skimming his body, he looked right. Like a weight he hadn't known he was carrying had suddenly lifted. He changed into one of Remy's more formal sundresses for the dinner, a teal number with a sweetheart neckline, and headed to the resort's beachfront restaurant. The other bridesmaids waved him over enthusiastically. "Remy, over here!" called a blonde woman in a pink dress. "I'm Madison, Cassandra's college roommate. This is Bethany, Elle, and Olivia." Finley smiled, slipping into the empty chair. "Nice to meet you all. Sorry I'm arriving late to the bridesmaid party." "Don't worry about it. We're just glad you made it," Bethany assured him. "Cassandra showed us your picture. Your auburn hair is absolutely gorgeous." "Thanks." Finley touched his extensions self-consciously. "I just had it done." The dinner was surprisingly enjoyable. The bridesmaids included Finley in their conversations easily, sharing stories about Cassandra and discussing the wedding events planned for the next few days. For the first time, Finley experienced how differently women interacted with each other compared to his usual male social circles. There was more emotional openness, more physical contact, more attention to each other's feelings. The next morning brought the wedding rehearsal. Finley put on the silver, strappy heels his mother had made him practice walking in for hours the day before they left. The bridesmaids gathered in the hotel lobby, all dressed in casual sundresses of various colors. Finley had chosen a white one with yellow flowers, paired with a light yellow cardigan.
"All right, ladies,"
the wedding planner announced, clipboard in hand. "Today we're just walking through the ceremony. The actual hair and makeup prep will happen tomorrow. Let's head down to the beach gazebo." Finley's heart raced as they approached the elaborately decorated gazebo overlooking the ocean. Rows of white chairs faced the structure, which was draped with flowing white fabric and tropical flowers.
"Bridesmaids will enter one by one,"
the planner instructed, positioning them in a line. Olivia first, then Elle, Bethany, Madison, and Remy last before the bride. You'll walk slowly, 1, 2, 3, 4, to the music. When you reach the front, turn left and take your position. Finley nodded, watching carefully as the other women demonstrated. When his turn came, he kept his shoulders back, his steps measured, his gaze forward as he'd been taught. At the front, he turned gracefully, only wobbling slightly on the heels.
"Perfect, Remy,"
the planner said.
"You're a natural."
Those words echoed in Finley's mind throughout the rest of the rehearsal. Natural. It didn't feel like pretending anymore. After the rehearsal, the bridal party spent the afternoon at the resort spa, enjoying massages, facials, and mani-pedis as a pre-wedding treat. Finley found himself wrapped in a plush robe, feet soaking in warm, scented water as he chatted with the other bridesmaids. No one questioned his presence in the women's spa area. No one looked at him strangely. He was just one of the girls.
"So, Remy,"
Madison asked, as a technician applied a fresh coat of polish to her toes. "Are you seeing anyone special?" Finley thought quickly. What would Remy say? "Not at the moment. Work keeps me pretty busy." "Same," sighed Bethany. "Men in our generation don't know how to commit anyway." The conversation flowed around him, easy and inclusive. Finley contributed when appropriate, careful not to reveal his limited knowledge of his sister's life. But mostly, he listened, absorbing this new world he'd stepped into. That evening was the rehearsal dinner, held in a private beachfront pavilion. Finley wore a knee-length navy blue dress with a lace overlay, his auburn hair styled in loose waves that framed his face. His mother had helped with his makeup, creating a subtle evening look that enhanced his eyes and lips. "You look stunning," his mother whispered as they entered the pavilion. No one would ever guess. Finley smiled, no longer bothered by the compliment. "Thanks, Mom." The dinner was a lively affair, with toasts and stories about the bride and groom. Finley sat at a table with the other bridesmaids, laughing at their jokes and sharing in their excitement for the wedding. When an elderly relative stopped by their table, peering at him through thick glasses, Finley felt a moment of panic. "Remy?" the older woman asked. "Margaret's daughter?" Finley nodded, keeping his voice soft. "Yes, that's me." "My goodness, you've grown into such a beautiful young woman. Last time I saw you, you were just a scrawny thing with braces. How old are you now?" 28, Finley answered, truthfully. "Well, you're a vision. Those Bennett women are always knockouts. You look just like your mother did at your age." As the woman moved on, Madison leaned over. "Who was that?" "I have no idea," Finley admitted. "Some distant relative, I think." The table erupted in laughter, and Finley joined in, a warm sense of belonging washing over him. The wedding day dawned bright and clear. Finley woke early, a nervous energy coursing through him. Today, he would walk down the aisle in that blush-pink bridesmaid dress, in front of everyone. There would be photos, videos, memories captured forever of this moment. And strangely, he was looking forward to it. The bridesmaids gathered in Cassandra's suite for hair and makeup. Professional stylists worked their magic, transforming them one by one. When Finley's turn came, the hairstylist swept his auburn extensions into an elegant updo, leaving a few tendrils to frame his face. The makeup artist created a soft, romantic look with rosy cheeks and pink lips.
"You have such beautiful bone structure,"
the makeup artist commented.
"Those cheekbones are to die for."
Finley blushed under the praise, catching Madison's eye in the mirror. She winked at him supportively. When it was time to change into their dresses, Finley's mother appeared to help him with the silicone forms and the complex undergarments that would create a feminine silhouette. The other bridesmaids were changing in the adjoining room, giving them privacy.
"How are you feeling?"
his mother asked quietly as she zipped up the blush-pink gown. Finley met her eyes in the mirror.
"I feel good,"
he said honestly.
"Better than good. I feel right."
A knowing look crossed his mother's face.
"I thought you might."
"What do you mean?" She adjusted the bodice of his dress gently. "Finley, a mother knows her children. I've seen how you've always looked at Remy's clothes, how you used to play with my makeup when you thought no one was watching. I've been waiting for you to figure it out for yourself." Emotions welled up in Finley's throat. "Mom,
"We can talk about it after the wedding," she said, squeezing his hand.
"For now, just enjoy being who you are, whoever that turns out to be." With those words lingering in his mind, Finley joined the other bridesmaids, all now dressed in identical blush-pink gowns. They exclaimed over each other, adjusting straps and smoothing fabric, a flurry of feminine energy and excitement. "Ladies, it's time!" the wedding planner called. "Grab your bouquets and line up." Finley took his bouquet of white roses and pink lilies, falling into line behind Madison. The tropical sun warmed his skin as they processed toward the beach gazebo, now filled with guests in their finest attire. Soft music played from hidden speakers, mixing with the sound of waves lapping at the shore. One by one, the bridesmaids began their walk down the aisle. When Finley's turn came, he took a deep breath and stepped forward, focusing on the measured pace they'd practiced. The guests smiled as he passed, some nodding in recognition, others whispering behind their programs. At the front, Finley took his place beside Madison, turning to watch as Cassandra made her entrance on her father's arm. The bride was radiant in her flowing white gown, her face lit with joy as she approached her groom. Throughout the ceremony, Finley stood tall in his blush-pink dress, feeling the sun on his face and the gentle ocean breeze against his skin. This moment, this feeling, it was perfect. Not because he was pretending to be Remy, but because for the first time, he felt like himself. After the ceremony came photographs, endless combinations of the bridal party against the backdrop of ocean and swaying palms. Finley posed as directed, smiling naturally as the photographer captured image after image. Then came the reception in the resort's grand ballroom, decorated with tropical flowers and twinkling lights. The bridesmaids were seated at a table near the bride and groom. As dinner was served, relatives stopped by to chat, many commenting on how lovely Remy looked.
"You've grown into such a beautiful woman," one uncle remarked. "I barely recognized you."
If only he knew how true that statement was, Finley thought with amusement. After dinner came dancing. Finley had worried about this part, but his mother had given him a crash course in dancing in heels. When the bridal party was called to the dance floor, he moved with surprising confidence, letting the music guide him. The other bridesmaids pulled him into their circle, all laughing and moving together under the spinning lights. "You're such a good dancer, Remy!" Bethany shouted over the music. Finley grinned, twirling in his blush-pink gown. "Thanks! So are you!" As the night wore on, Finley found himself speaking with distant relatives and family friends, all of whom accepted him without question as Remy. The more he was treated as a woman, the more natural it felt. By the time the reception wound down in the early hours of the morning, Finley no longer felt like he was playing a role. He felt like he was finally playing himself. Back in his hotel room, he carefully removed the bridesmaid dress, hanging it up properly. He took off the silicone forms and washed away the makeup, revealing his natural face in the mirror. But even without the trappings, something had changed. The person looking back at him was different from the one who had arrived in Maui days ago. The next morning, Finley joined his mother for breakfast on the resort terrace. He'd dressed in another of Remy's sundresses, a light blue one that fluttered around his knees. His auburn hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and he wore minimal makeup. "Good morning," his mother greeted him with a knowing smile. "Sleep well?" "Surprisingly, yes." Finley took a seat, pouring himself a cup of coffee. "The wedding was beautiful." "It was. Patricia has been texting me all morning about how perfect everything was, and how lovely her niece Remy looked." Finley smiled, stirring cream into his coffee. "Mom, about what you said yesterday." His mother reached across the table, taking his hand. "Finley, I meant what I said. I've always known there was something you were keeping inside. I just wanted you to figure it out for yourself, in your own time."
"I think I have," Finley said quietly.
"These past 3 days, being Remy, it didn't feel like pretending. It felt like I was finally being honest." "Then maybe you should keep being honest," his mother suggested gently. "Even when we go home." Tears pricked at Finley's eyes. "You wouldn't mind? If I wasn't Finley anymore?" "Sweetheart, all I've ever wanted is for you to be happy. If this is what makes you happy, then I'm behind you 100%. They spent the rest of breakfast discussing practical matters. How to tell Remy, what steps to take next, how to handle the transition at work and with friends. By the time they boarded their flight home the next day, a plan was forming. Finley still wore Remy's clothes, still had the auburn extensions, still presented as a woman. It no longer felt like a deception. It felt like a revelation. Remy, to Finley's surprise, was supportive from the moment they broke the news. "I always knew there was something," she said from her hospital bed, leg elevated in a cast. "Remember when we were kids and you used to borrow my clothes when Mom wasn't looking?" Finley blinked. "You knew about that?" "Of course I knew. You never put things back exactly where you found them." Remy grinned. "For what it's worth, you looked better in that bridesmaid dress than I would have." 6 months later, after sessions with a gender therapist, Finley legally changed her name to Remy, a different spelling than her twin sister's name, but pronounced the same. She began hormone therapy, watching as her body slowly transformed to match the person she'd discovered during those 3 days in Maui. The wedding photos arrived, beautifully bound in a leather album that Cassandra sent to each bridesmaid. Remy, formerly Finley, opened it with trembling hands, gazing at the images of herself in that blush pink dress, auburn hair styled elegantly, face glowing with a happiness she'd never known was possible. In those photos, she saw not a deception, but a truth. Not someone pretending to be someone else, but someone finally, truly being themselves. She ran a finger over one image. All 5 bridesmaids with their arms around each other, laughing in the golden Hawaiian sunset, their blush pink dresses fluttering in the ocean breeze. Her first photos as her true self, captured forever on her cousin's wedding day. "Thank you," she whispered to the image, to the moment that had shown her who she was meant to be. Setting the album aside, Remy stood and smoothed the emerald green dress she wore, admiring how it complemented her auburn hair, now grown out naturally, the extensions long since removed. She checked her reflection once more, adjusting her necklace and touching up her lipstick. Tonight, she was meeting her former bridesmaids for dinner. Madison had been passing through town and arranged the small reunion. None of them knew yet about the change. They still thought they'd be meeting Remy, Margaret's daughter, who had been a bridesmaid at Cassandra's wedding. And they would be, just not the Remy they were expecting. Remy smiled at her reflection, confident in who she had become. The wedding hadn't been a moment of pretending to be someone else. It had been the moment she finally stopped pretending to be someone she wasn't. Picking up her purse, she headed out the door, ready to introduce the world to the real Remy, the woman who had always been there, waiting to step into the light.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!